give you a presentation today about what is available in the world of decor lighting, wedding design, illumination. You can use the walls, the ceilings, the floors. You can tie the entire room together 360 degrees around, bring it all together. The other great thing about lighting is it can hide and it can showcase great architecture or poor architecture, because lighting allows you to draw your eye and take it away from the detracting items and emphasize the stuff that looks really good. So if you have a room with really great architecture, you've started with something really nice, now you can highlight it and make it look even better. All right, an LED is a kind of light. It gives us control over the color. You see we switched to blue. We had a nice sort of purplish look as you guys came in. So we can control the color of these, we can control the intensity. The other great thing about these is they are cool to the touch. Great thing about uplights, they can change colors during the event. You don't have to pick your color initially. With some of these technologies, you've already got these lights here. Why not change the color during the event? So imagine you have one color as your guests arrive, one color for the cocktail hour, one color for your first dances, and one color as dinner picks up or as your partying picks up. It allows you to customize not only the room, but customize the individual segments of your evening. It gives you control over that. And these days, there are very simple controllers for these guys. Your lighting vendor can probably give you a controller that has big buttons on it that say red, green, blue, music mode. So what that means is the technology has given us abilities to do things very simply, so you don't have to pay for a lighting technician to be there all the time. Other part of this package is the gobo that we have on the floor. Basically, it's a pattern that you put in a lighting fixture to give it a cutout. Think of it as a cookie cutter for a light. Traditional gobos are made of metal. It's a thin piece of metal. It actually goes in the light and casts that shadow. They're cut out on a laser cutter, so you can get relatively good detail, but not super high resolution. Next level up from there is a glass gobo. Now these are really neat. Instead of being laser cut out of a piece of metal, it's a printing process that happens between a plate of glass. So a glass gobo is more expensive, but you get better resolution, better detail out of your image. The other thing a glass gobo can do that a metal gobo can't is it can have different colors and different shades of gray. Sort of between the two is a new technology. It's an acetate gobo, which you can actually print locally. You don't have to ship it away to a laser cutting facility or a glass etching facility. The acetate gobos is actually what we're using here. But again, they have some limitations. They're great in that they're easy to turn around. You can manufacture them locally. So if you have a last minute event or something like that, they're a really good option for that. Limitations of them, well, they have to be in a special kind of lighting fixture, a lighting fixture that blows cool air. So I want to take just a quick second to talk about color selection. As you can see, these LEDs can create the whole rainbow of color. It's a really neat feature of these guys. You can bring them into your venue, dial in exactly what you're looking for while taking into account the colors of the walls and things like that. So when you're picking colors, the initial impulse is typically to match your wedding colors. Well, that can look great. It really can, especially if you have two wedding colors that are used throughout and you can focus one color, say, on your table and one color on the walls. That can look really good. Let's say your color is blue, though, and you've got blue linens and blue invitations, and now your walls are blue. Everything is just gonna kind of muddy together. So we want to look for some contrast somewhere in the design, and your lighting is a great place to do that contrast. You have your tables and everything that are designed to match your wedding invitations and put all that stuff together. Go ahead and take the walls in a different direction. Why not? So that was a basic package. Now let's add a couple other things and take it a little bit beyond the basics here. So let's talk about what we're seeing. Obviously the walls changed color. We went to our red color instead of a blue. The other thing we've added here is we've added the table pin spotting. I know a lot of you guys have worked with pin spotting before. We'll talk about some gotchas and some considerations and fun things you can do with the pin spotting. So the pin spots are there. We've also added a gobo breakup pattern over here on the dance floor to give that some added interest. What is a pin spot? What a pin spot does is it allows you to draw attention to a particular piece. We know we can use a pin spot to feature an item, either a table or a cake or even an architectural feature. You can use that pin spot to draw your eye to that. If you guys were to step back out of this room and come back in, your eye would come immediately to the centerpieces because we now have that light drawing your attention to it. Other piece we have here is a breakup pattern that we've put on the floor here. Breakup pattern is just another kind of gobo, a kind of projection. And what it's used for is bringing emphasis to an area. It's used to take an area, light it in a color, but still give it some interest in visual pattern. It's also a great way to set a certain area off from everything else. So, for example, in this next picture that's going to come up, the bride and groom didn't have an actual dance floor installed. There was a tile floor in this room, but they wanted there to be a visual difference between the center area that was used as the dance floor and the rest of the room. So dance floor packages can combine perhaps a color wash as well as a gobo. Color wash is just a wash of color across an area. In this picture, you can see we have an amber wash of color going across the floor, and then that purpley magenta breakup pattern coming in. So what we're seeing now is we've brought the ceiling into play. We've got a color wash overhead. We just talked about the color wash on the dance floor. Now we've taken that color wash and raised it up to the ceiling. So we've got this blue color wash across there, and then again, a gobo pattern. This happens to be a star field, which is a real popular thing. It's a real romantic feel. But you can also use some sort of repeating motif, something that you may have used in your design for your invitation or your menu. A whole different look. So again, that was just a lighting change, right, guys? We didn't change anything else in the room other than throw on some different lights. So we've used the same overhead space, now has a different pattern to it and a different color, now going into more of a jungle kind of theme here, as well as we've brought in some moving gobos here along this wall. Same lights, different colors, different patterns. This sort of ties into the henna look that a lot of Indian brides are looking for. There are also some great geometric patterns that tie in really well with Middle Eastern architecture and the real cool mosaic work that you see in buildings overseas. Seasonal weddings, you can tie them in with the season. Do a winter design. You could do a fall with a leaf breakup pattern and some warm colors. All kinds of different combinations. That's not to say you have to do it all inside. There are lots of options for outdoor weddings and tent weddings as well. This overhead canopy that we have installed for today, imagine that was a tent surface. So the projections we've been doing up there with stars and jungle theme and different colors, a tent surface is a giant canopy just waiting to be lit and have something done with it. That's true inside and outside. Looking at that ceiling as an available canvas to you as part of your room design is really, really valuable. There are different kinds of tents. We know there are pole tents and there are frame tents. I've got two pictures of frame tents to show you some different ways we can put lighting up in tents. This tent right here, we've done sort of a truss structure between the poles. This was my wedding, so I like truss and moving lights, right? So this to me was just the perfect kind of design. Some brides, maybe not so much. You want to do something a little more low-key that's not so techie looking. This event over here, we use what's called a wagon wheel system. It looks exactly like a wagon wheel that bolts onto the outside of the tent and gives us these mounting locations up at the top of the tent pole where we can put our lighting design together. You'll see in both of these some of the things we've talked about so far. In this tent, we've got a color wash, a nice amber color wash across the ceiling. We've got a very light blue color wash, similar to what we've done on the tables right now, just a gentle blue color wash across the tables. And then the pin spotting on the centerpieces to draw the attention there. What we have now is a white spotlight hitting the cake, because we don't really want to change Kara's cake too much. It's a beautiful white cake. We don't want to colorize that too much. But we do have a rotating color wash behind it to draw some visual attention to it. We try to keep it a little bit subtle. But when you first walk into a room, again, we had that look up when you guys first came in, and hopefully it catches your eye just a little bit. It creates a focal point for the room. We talked about these moving lights up here. Well, your lighting vendor can often provide moving light packages for your band or DJ if they don't have them. So remember, we also talked about the lights being able to go into a music mode where the lights can change color to the music. So imagine you've had this nice subtle blue uplighting over the course of your evening, and now the band or DJ kicks up into high mode. You can put these things in a color chase or a music mode and really jazz the room up a little bit. Also, you see the moving lights, dancing to the music, lots of different gobos and patterns and colors. So imagine you have a tent and everyone's seated for dinner. Well, a lot of people do photo montages of their bride and groom, but they'll put them on a screen like that, or they'll put them on a little pop-up projection screen somewhere. Why not project that photo montage across the entire tent? Or use a couple of different projectors so that, you know, that old Apple screensaver where the pictures are coming up at different times? Imagine that over the course of the entire tent above your bride and groom's head. Stuff like that looks really good. Or say your first dance. Well, you've got your beautiful lighting design with your themes tied together. You've got your custom gobo on the floor, which we know looks great for those first dance photos with the bride and groom with their names at their feet, the beautiful colors. But imagine as a background, instead of just the wall or the color, the whole room transformed into their photo montage. So think about the photographs right now, guys. If I'm the photographer stepping back right here and I take this picture, the visual is just so compelling, and anytime you have a big wall available to you, or you could transform it, you could use pipe and drape to create that projection surface to give you that area where you can really transform a room. You want to customize something for a bride and groom. How about making the bride and groom part of the actual decor? One other option here, something you can consider, really transforming an entire room, wrapping it in a custom theme, something very specialized. Lots of different options with video. With lighting, we know we can project anything we can imagine. We can create those projections. We can do the same thing with video. We can animate, we can create, we can design, and we can project it on the walls in a very customized manner that is totally different from anything anyone else is doing. So you can consider really transforming a room, large venue, small venue, or again, the whole overhead surface of the tent. If you look up again, you'll see we have a little ripple effect over your heads to sort of tie this all together and bring the underwater theme all into one.